The people who pressed on with that American creed, yes, we can.
Yes, together we will make America
better. 2022, first episode. Welcome to Unintelligent Intellectuals. We are your hosts.
Was it 3 years from when we're going to have a civil war?
Yeah, about. Yeah, my calculation is that's the way the wind is blowing. Yeah, feel it.
I was telling somebody that the other day. I was like, I think there'll be a civil war, but maybe like 60 years from now. We'll be like in our 80s. And...
oh, dag nabbit. I mean, it feels closer than that. Like, it's crazy how radicalized people are to their dogmas, you know. Like, people just feel really upset and just like...
I think it's all about swings. Like culture swings. Like,
yeah.
I think eventually we've talked about this before. I think things will swing back and normalize itself out.
Yeah, I hope so, but...
Like, there was mass protests for, like, rappers.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you can't say that. And it wasn't even that bad of what they were saying. It was like, fuck or something.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they say the N-word group all the time. It's bad.
Yeah, I can see that.
Or, like, the hip movements in the 50s.
Yeah, like, I remember my...
and then eventually we're like, okay, it's not that bad.
Right, that's true. But that, I think it's a little different. Like, I remember my folks would tell me stories about how, their parents were upset when they were listening to James Brown and stuff. They're just like, you paid money to hear this guy just yell, like, yeah! It's just like, it's stupid. It's like, I'm thinking about, like, a mumble rap. But it's like that kind of stuff. Like,
wouldn't it be great if that's if that's the worst that we had to complain about? Oh, look at this guy's randomly yelling.
Yeah.
Instead, now it's like, I can see her pussy lips.
Yeah. Oh my god.
You're just trying to control women.
Yeah.
No, I just have children.
Oh, you should control what they listen to. Duh.
How?
Yeah, it's so
you want me to control Facebook and Twitter?
Yeah.
This hardcore porn on Twitter. If I have a kid and they're on Twitter, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
No. Constantly be in their account. Oh, I see what they're following. Oh!
That's my page.
Yeah, it's not even that. They don't even have to follow it. All they have to do is just find out a porn star's name and then just put it into the search tab. And, like, they're gonna find scenes of her getting railed.
Right. I mean, like, you think as a kid, like, you think kids are not out here just like, I wonder what... I mean, just access to the internet.
It's not 2005. It's like, and restriction setting.
Yeah. But I think, like, culture-wise, like, if it goes, like, music and stuff like that, that's one thing. But, you know, people getting upset about that, and it's like, even nowadays, like, people getting upset about mumble rap, but now it's, like, somewhat normalized, so just like, shit, whatever. But, when it comes to, like political doctrines and, being affiliated with a specific person, like, it's just people, like, go balls to the wall.
Well, that's what I was saying. If we have a civil war, the end result is going to be a genocide.
Yeah. Sadly enough, man. It's...
If it gets to the point where we have a civil war.
Yeah.
Because if it gets to that point, we're going to be so on different opposite spectrums, it's going to be, like, unlivable to be with the other group.
Yeah. And it's
so we're either going to split the country or we're just going to have to, like, eliminate a lot of people.
Yeah. It's like that rhetoric is almost like... it's very similar to, like, wartime propaganda about each side. Like, we're really, like, going after each other, and it's not... This doesn't look okay. And it's funny, like, we talk about, like, third world countries and, like, look at how archaic and backwards they are, but it's like we're over here, like, spewing the same nonsense about each other. It's like, I don't know. I'm not too familiar with politics outside the U.S. that much, but I don't think it's this extreme.
Thank God we have a foundation that was built on straight white men.
Jesus. Oh fuck.
I retract that.
That was the powder. That was the thing that just lit it up. That started the Civil War right there. By the time
somebody finds this,
yo, motherfucker, they got the patriarchy. I knew it. These little bitches.
I knew it. They have 5 views, and this has to stop.
Oh boy.
Never again.
Oh man, I guess that's a good place to start, man.
The January 6th riots.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just to see how vehement
the event that shook the world.
Yeah. Oh boy.
That speech about comparing it to 9/11 and Pearl Harbor.
Yes, it's like, yo, you piece of shit. Like, really,
thousands of people died.
Yeah, those people
and it
alive.
resulted in wars that millions of people died.
Yeah. Like, all right, brother. Like,
dropped a nuclear bomb because of Pearl Harbor.
Right. Yeah. I saw this one thing that was and I forgot which order it was, but it's like, and I really don't think this is real, but it was like, oh, you think you're having a bad day? And it shows like this picture of this old Japanese guy, and it's like this guy like got up early for work, biked into town like however many miles, and then when the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, and then it's like and he survived. And then he went back home and after whatever and went to visit some family in Nagasaki, and then the second one dropped. It's like have a good day. I was like, oh shit, this is a little fucking dark. But yeah, man, like there's people alive who like are.
I think people forget that there was a second bomb that they dropped.
Yeah. Hey, there's people alive who are directly affected by those kind of events. Like
dropped in the 50s. Or no, 40s.
Yeah. 45, 44, something like that. But shit, like 9/11, that was a person ago. That was like I don't know.
Well, to just compare people walking in single file lines through the Capitol and taking selfies and comparing it to
that's what I think
an
about.
International terrorist attack.
Yeah, it shut down air travel all over the country. Like, wow. Oh my god.
Today is a somber day.
It's like when people compare it to Nazi Germany, when people compare things to slavery. It's like, don't stop. Just don't do that.
Oh, the modern day slavery.
No. Like when
people say that, like NFL players. Oh, it's like modern day slavery.
Yeah, it's like no. That's the worst one because modern day slavery actually exists, and it's nothing compared to.
There was an argument with an ex NFL player and some chick. I know I forget her name, but she's like been around talking shit, and she was telling him that like she was trying to convince him that he was a slave. In this like owner master mentality type thing, and he was like, I signed a contract.
Yeah, I chose to do it.
It's like my ancestors,
millions of dollars.
It's like my ancestors weren't signing $1 million contracts.
Yeah, they weren't praised for their efforts. No one bought their jerseys.
It's a choice.
Yeah. It's a little different. They're trying to like draw conclusions wherever you can find it. Like just like a lot of white people are owners, so and they have a lot of black players that make money for them. It's just like slavery. Like okay.
I think their argument for that is that it's because they don't have there's not a ton of guarantees in their contracts. But that's just I think because of the nature of the sport, because it's so injury prone that it's hard to guarantee money for contracts for people who you're essentially like guaranteed this guy's going to miss like a couple games during the season. So I have to like plan out that.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of them are incentive heavy.
Yeah, I see that.
Or a lot of the contracts are incentive heavy. Like your contract's like $2 million, but like at the end of the year you're making like $7 million.
Yeah.
Because you played a full year and you played X amount of games and you got this many tackles, yards, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the contracts, but that makes sense. Like to have because I mean it's in the realm of entertainment, so to have something that's merit based makes the most sense. Because if you just warming the bench for X amount of time, it's like it's it's not the same as like the star player. Or,
Well, I know they have the least guarantee out of all the major sports.
Well, I think
I'm assuming that's why is because of the injuries.
Yeah.
I could be fucking wrong, but
Well, I know boxing is terrible. Like the contracts that
unless you're a name.
Maybe yeah. Like you have to scrape for like
you win like 25 fights, and then you're like, oh, now it's your payday.
yeah. Like oh wow, making $45,000 a year. Thank God. Like that's a rough thing. Yeah.
Well, that's with like UFC's the same way, or maybe not necessarily UFC because it's but like
I think they average a little bit more for like the lower level guys, but overall, even their star player, they're not making.
You're
the
making
money
like
that.
25 a fight or something like that, or maybe like 50 if you're on the low cards.
Yeah, after getting your head bashed in, it's like.
Well, then you can only fight like 2-3 times a year. That's the real issue.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little heavy. That's what I mean. Yeah, January 6th. That's what I think about. UFC, January 6th. Well, yeah, I hate those crazy comparisons. It's stupid. It's not even. I don't even feel like it's worth trying to defend. Like it's just part of like what Jon Stewart was saying. Like the media like being inflammatory on purpose and like trying to draw attention. And it's like, all right, like I'll move past the outrage and like let's have a constructive conversation about it. Like right now, there's a lot of news around how there might be a lot of FBI informants that were embedded into the organization that kind of incited everything and how things kind of spun out of control, and it's being treated. There's not a lot of attention being garnered towards that from the people who who are outraged about it from the beginning. But that's kind of an important factor. Whether you think it's right or wrong, it's an important factor to report on because it's part of this whole story. I mean, like, you could defend it one way or another. You could be like, oh, well, these people might not have done anything anyway until this stuff happened. And this stuff happened primarily because of...
Agent provocateurs, that's what they're called?
Yeah. And they've identified a few people who they believe might have connections to the FBI because of prior relationships to law enforcement or the fact that they were on the most wanted lists along with like 9 other people, and then it's like then all of a sudden they're mysteriously taken off the list, and like we know who these people are, but it's just not all of a sudden they're not important anymore. So it's like that kind of stuff is part of the story, right? So, I mean, like you could say they wouldn't have done it anyway, and this is messed up that they did this, and it's their fault.
Then you don't know mob mentality.
Yeah. Like they just take the one person in the back, throw that one chair.
Or maybe just the cops opening up the gates and saying, "Come on in."
Yeah.
Because that kind of does it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you could also like you could argue the other way where it's just like,
Well, I love how they were trying to memorialize the black cop.
Yeah.
They had like picture where they're at the door and he's got his gun. And he's like don't come in or some shit like that. And then everybody's like, oh, so now you give a shit about police? Like
Yeah.
For months you were telling us that they're all racist scumbags, but then now you found a black guy and you're like, oh. It's terrible what they've done to this police officer.
Yeah, man. It's just like that's why I'm scared about
Blue
that.
lives matter.
Yeah. So I'm terrified about this the swing because I'm not so sure it's gonna happen because I'll see then they're just like, oh well it's a black police officer, so of course it's different. I was like, no. See, in Ferguson, like there's black police officers that are being called Uncle Tom, and he's just like, no, I care about it too. I just want to protect my town. Yeah. This is why I chose to be a police officer. I'm not out here shooting our people. I have 3 sons, and they're just like, shut the fuck up, you racist piece of shit. You're blue. Yeah, like no matter what you do, what you say, it's like depending on how like.
Yeah, but those people are losers.
It's insane.
Those people are losers.
Yeah. They are, but it's like, but people, they're losing. But then everybody in the crowd be like behind them, like, yeah, like no one's speaking out, like, yo, dude, stop being an asshole. But it's like, tensions are high, and that's the those are the elements of the not that I think, oh yeah, so what's gonna happen, like poking fun, but it's like the rhetoric around the way that we talk about each other is very wartime-ish.
But you look at like the Latinx poll that came out.
Don't.
Have you? No, but have you seen the poll?
Do they call it the Latinx poll?
No, like a Rasmussen poll, like a Gallup poll, like
Okay.
a study was conducted.
Oh, about like people who
Like a legitimate poll just on the term of Latinx.
Oh, okay. I thought you were referring to Latinos and Latinas.
No.
Oh, like you piece of, don't do that.
No, it was like a poll that was taken.
I remember like how many want to be referred to as Latinx, and it's like little.
It was very small, but it was more. So I think like 45% didn't know what the term was and didn't like it, and then like 35% felt aggressively offended by it. And would not vote for someone who used that term.
Yeah. I see it.
But that's like a term that you would think is like, oh well, what's happening? But then like you take the poll, it's like no, like it's really not like.
Yeah.
If almost 40% of a racial group is like, I'm angrily offended by this.
Yeah, don't ever fucking call me. Yeah.
So it's a term that's trying to be pushed where like 80% of the race doesn't even, or not race because it's not a race of the culture. Doesn't like it or doesn't use it, doesn't want to use it, doesn't feel like it identified.
Yeah. That should probably be an Olympic sport. I mean, it's just, and that's a way to flesh out all the anger. It's like, all right, guys, let's go out there and.
It's like Hunger Games.
Yeah.
15 American militias versus like 15 Antifas.
Yeah.
We figure it out.
Yeah. Oh boy. I hate this thing.
What the state of things?
Yeah.
I guess the Rogan thing might be more alarming.
Oh, with us.
Although every time it seems like something's gonna resolve, it always just like backfires.
He seems like the new the new target that the mainstream media is pointing their guns at.
Well, because he's the mainstream media.
Talking about viewership.
He gets like more views off one podcast than they get in a week. Like,
They have a whole operation, a whole team, and it's just him and Jamie bringing in people he likes to talk to about stuff they likes to talk about.
Yeah, it's just him and some guy that like has general interest in like media production.
Yeah, I'll Google that. Oh no, you were wrong. Oh yeah, like that one, the guy he was talking to.
Hey, we got a new camera lens. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, the guy I was talking to from Australia, who I think it was the doctor. But they were going back and forth about the.
You talking about Robert Malone?
Yeah.
The guy that got banned on Twitter for misinformation.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, is it Robert Malone? I'm terrible with names. Let me find it real fast.
I think it was Robert Malone.
I know he talks to Robert Malone, but I'm not.
You mean it might not be that exact doctor?
Yeah.
Oh, he's not a doctor. You're talking about Josh Zepp or Zed something.
Yeah, maybe I'm talking about the. I'm confusing it. It wasn't the doctor he was talking to. Yeah, I remember when you talked to him. No. It was the other guy. It's
not a doctor. The Australian guy is like Josh.
Reporter or something like that.
It's Josh something. I forget his.
Yeah.
Is Zeb?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something weird. I just know that it's.
Yeah, you're right. It was.
Is it Zeb? No. Oh. Yeah, Zebs.
Yeah.
Zeps.
Yeah.
Seps. I don't know how to pronounce that
name. Yeah, Mr. Josh. Mr. Josh.
He's okay. He could be off at times.
Yeah, but it's like they were having a conversation about the effects that the negative effects of possible negative
For the
effects of the myocarditis,
myocarditis.
of the vaccine rates in young boys versus the virus, and then they were going back and forth about that, and then Joe was like, no, I don't think that's right, and then they looked it up, and Joe was like, oh, okay, like I was wrong. He was like, but that's not what I read something else, and then he gracefully, like, even after that, pointed to it, like on Twitter. He's just like, oh yeah, like if I was gonna be proven wrong by anybody, I like that as this guy, I love him, and
And then he put out the clip.
Yeah, and then he also put on the article where he's like, oh, this is what I read, this is why I thought I was right. It's like, so he read something that he from a source that he trusted, and he thought that, okay, well, based off of this thing that I read and now understand, this thing looks dangerous, and the other guy had counter information. And it just so happened on that specific instance, he was right. And but Joe was like willing to be like, oh yeah, all right. But like, there's no mechanism like that in anywhere in I hate saying mainstream media, on TV media, to kind of fact check or to be like.
Most news outlets.
Yeah.
Unless it's independent. Or a podcast, you're not gonna get anything that's of value.
Yeah, and it's like at least like you have all those people on the team, people speak in your ear, like they have access to be able to research that stuff, and then you go and do the show tomorrow.
I don't know how anybody can like watch that stuff and be like, I'm informed.
Yeah, it's like it's a fucking stage.
It's like when there are podcasts where it's like, okay, here's a guy who has a doctorate in clinical psychology.
Yeah,
and he's having a 4.5 hour ridiculously long conversation with like a doctor of, neurology, and he specializes in Alzheimer medication or something.
Yeah.
And then they have a 4-hour conversation about Alzheimer. And then it's like, oh, well, I saw on Fox News or CNN the other day. It's like, what did you see? In that 5-minute segment, what did you learn?
Well, he is wearing a suit, so I mean.
Because those two doctors just talked for 4.5 hours about just the Alzheimer's medication.
Yeah, man.
I'm pretty sure, listen to that, you're going to be a little bit more educated on this.
Maybe a wee bit. I think it's just the old school mentality of like, oh, like when you had like 3 news channels, and like you go turn it on, like that's how you find out what's going on in the world.
Oh, I'm cool with that. Yeah. It's like the Fox News dad.
Yeah, but it's like now
that's like a bit from a comedian. It's a recent bit. It's like Fox News dad. It's like, I like a Fox News dad. My dad's a Fox News dad. It's basically just a dad who like has a couple beers and is just like, fucking Obama. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, he's just a conservative guy that watches Fox News, talks a little bit of shit, has a couple beers, and then just goes to sleep.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. As opposed to someone who's like vehemently railing against any kind of information that contradicts what they witness.
Well, he's not listening to Sean Hannity and being like, I'm fully educated on this matter now.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like, I know what the libtards. Like, it's just one of the.
Yeah. Like passively, just like, all right. Yeah, because like, I don't know. Like, I talked to someone.
Like, he's aware of his bias, and he's just like, I just want to watch Fox News for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Have a couple of beers, and then just go to Fox. Go to see.
Yeah, like I'll talk to somebody about that. Like when it comes to like renewable energy, and he's just like. He's just like, yeah, like this thing's stupid. Like they're just creating, spending all this money, and I was like, oh no, well it's because at a certain point it's gonna run out, and it's like, and he's like, no, it's not, and I was like, well, like maybe it's like 80,000 years from now, maybe it's tomorrow, but at some point, like there's
gonna need to be an alternative.
We're utilizing this source at a faster rate than the world is creating it, because the process in which it's created is like dead organisms pressurized by like the Earth's layers over thousands of years. It's like, yeah, we gas up every day, every other day. It's just like, yeah. So, but it was like that kind of conversation, which he was like, it was hard for him to be like to get to that.
He
conclusion.
wasn't opening up to it,
right? Yeah. But eventually he was just like, yeah, but you're probably right though. But like that's how, because he's like that old, he's like that Fox dad. He's like used to like seeing that information, so he's just like, no, it's stupid. But then like if you just come with a reasonable argument, he'll just be like, I don't know, maybe you're right. I don't know. It's like, you know, the humility to be able to be like, you know, like, this is what I know, but I don't really understand. And at a certain point, like, maybe you're right.
I don't mind, Jesus. I don't mind a simpleton approach on it. Like, if you're just liberal and you're like, and everything's kind of just half-assed.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's when, like, you're conservative or liberal, and it's like, oh, but this is it, and it's like you have like literally no grasp on what the situation even is.
Yeah, it's like I don't mind. I like passion. Like I don't mind passion. I don't mind like people like having a strong opinion about something, but like over the course of a conversation, it's like. If you don't know or if you're not sure, and it's like you could be like, I don't know, like, oh, this is what I think, or like how Joe did, like, oh, well, this is what I read, or this is what I heard, so this is what I think it is, and it's like, all right, well, let's find out who's right and who's wrong, and not to be like to score points and like, I win, you little bitch, and like, no, it's just like, no, I really want to know, like, I'm curious, so like moving forward. Now I know, and then it's like, oh, then I could either change my views or certify that my views are correct, and then it's like it's a learning experience. It's a pleasant interaction. Growth comes from it, you know. But that's not what's happening for the most part. If you look at the way that on the media, like how we're interacting with each other on either side of the spectrum, it's just like we're just it's. Oh, this is the worst thing since Pearl Harbor, and the worst thing since 9/11. That's where, like, once the conversation happens, it gets to that point where it's like, oh, understanding and growth can happen.
Well, it'd be different if that person actually legitimately believed that, but they don't.
That's the other thing. Yeah. I could see there are
people who
really,
actually think that.
really pisses me off. Yeah, like
that statement by that elected official.
Yeah, that really pisses me off.
That's not true. Like, you know that person doesn't think that.
Yeah. Like, here, take a potty break.
Potty break.
But yeah, it's like there was I think Dan Crenshaw was talking, or this lady was talking to Dan Crenshaw. I think it was Grand Crenshaw. Damn, I butchered my man's name. Yeah, I must have been wearing an eye patch when I was reading it. It's like, nah, that's fucked up. Cut that part out. No, but he was talking to I think he was at some kind of town hall, Dan Crenshaw, and he was talking to a group of people, and they were asking him some questions, and there was a young lady who asked him about like, oh, well, how come you say like you'll curtail your message depending on who you're speaking to, and I don't really think he did that, but she cherry picked this one thing out of he was on a podcast, and he was talking to about hero archetypes. And he was talking about, oh, like, you have Jesus Christ is like a hero archetype, and people need that kind of stuff. And then he also says, oh, and there's also other non-fictional characters who are archetypes. And so she picked that up. So what do you think about that? And then he's like, oh, well, don't question my faith. Don't question my faith. And it's just like, and he tried to explain it, but at that point, everyone was already riled up and against him. So it's like,
he was on a podcast talking about this?
Yeah, she referenced when he was on the podcast talking about it, and so it's like she was pointing out that he called Jesus Christ a fictional character as opposed to someone who actually believes in the faith. So it's like, and it's hard, like when you're a politician, kind of incentivized to lie, so you never know what's real or what's not. But it's entirely possible that he was talking to because when I talk about religion to people who I don't think are necessarily religious, like I talk about things in generality about the generic message and how they can extrapolate something from what they don't understand, because I know when you talk about a hardcore belief like that, some people just get tuned off. So maybe that's what he was doing, Maybe he doesn't really believe, and he just.
What does it even matter?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, yeah, like some people like, oh, like to try to determine.
I
like,
hate non-religious people more than I hate religious people.
I don't know. Like I don't. I have equal hate all like I think I'm an equal opportunity hater.
Well, no, because if you believe in something and you're trying to push it on somebody, it's like, okay, well, you're just taking your belief and trying to show it to other people.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a belief in nothing, why are you so angry?
Yeah, it which is like.
But why are you trying to play like? I got him.
Yeah, it's funny because like the people who have a belief in nothing or like if you're just agnostic, like like I don't think there's anything. I don't know. We'll see. That's one thing, but I know you're talking about the people who are like vehemently against, like no, this is wrong. This doesn't exist. Like this. But that
we caught Dan Crenshaw admitting Jesus is fictional. We won.
Yeah,
it's like, oh my god.
Yeah. Like I think those kind of people are that's a belief system in and of itself, where it's like you believe vehemently against dogma in a dogma type of way that this kind of belief system is wrong. So it's like I don't dislike one group more than the other because the extremes on both sides are like terrible. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like
annoying.
Yeah. It's like I don't.
It's more annoying. Let me get that word out.
I don't go to Dan Crenshaw for my for my spiritual direction. You know what I mean? Like I respect him as a politician. Like, are you doing your job? And if you're not, then like, are we doing something about it? Like I think that's where it should stop. But if there's all these this obsession with who people are as individuals and just like
I need to get off social media.
You feel a lot better. Yeah.
I went on some whole, and you mentioning Crenshaw made me think about it. So I think it was some critique of a video, some like big name journalist who's on like the liberal end. So like everybody in the comments were like, maybe it's my bias, but just the shit talking from Democrats is so horrifically bad. They're like, one guy's making fun of him for having the eye patch. Like, why doesn't he just fix it and be like a normal fucking person? And I was like,
whoa, what the fuck?
But they think they're roasting him, and it's like, then you go to like the conservatives, and it's like, there's Governor Cuck de Blasio, and it's like. That's kind of funny. He wants to watch his wife get fucked by other men.
God damn.
But I mean, it's not like a seething, like, yeah, de Blasio, you're kind of fucking fat, right? Like, it's not like... It was like making fun of his eye injury and how he just chooses to...
I see what you're saying. One thing is just like a generic, like...
Yeah, no, they're saying, like, someone should tell him he's not a fucking pirate and she should get that shit fixed. And it's like, you do realize you sound like an angry piece of shit.
Yeah. That's like that. Like, that's a... I guess, you could see that as like, oh, this is a
like you could make fun of the eye patch, but like, so this is literally off the top of my head. I didn't like plan this out for the podcast, but you could be like,
we should start planning stuff.
But it'd be like, it's like, oh, Dan kind of Dan should probably get some sleep. He's looking a little tired, and like you like put the R in it. Because then you're comically going after the eye patch.
That's funny. Yeah.
To make a joke about the eye patch, about the existence of the eye patch, and he's such a loser because he didn't fix his eye in the way that you wanted to. It's like
that's the
you do see. You do realize how you're as bad, if not worse, than any crazy conservative.
Yeah, it's like making fun of it's just like
you're making fun of a guy that got shrapnel in his eye.
Yeah. That's not okay.
in a non-funny way.
Right. Like you're
and then everybody else in the chats are obviously like, "Oh yeah, great burn, man!" Like,
yeah, it's like those kind of jokes that aren't really jokes. It's just like you're just trying to be
you just hate Dan Crenshaw.
Yeah, exactly. That's different than like I was thinking of when you said that. I was thinking about the damn pirate on Dodgeball. Like, Gar.
What is he gonna play, Steve in the reboot? You know what I mean? Like, because those are actual like.
Don't you remember me? Holy shit!
You can have actual jokes that are like trying to be funny while making fun of him, and then people laugh at him. But like if you're just like hate him because he's a Republican, and you're finding every way that you can just shit down its throat.
Yeah.
And then you go on like conservative threads, and it's like, Alzheimer's jokes about Biden, and he should be in the commercial. Oops, I crapped my pants. Like, it's funny. They're not like, oh, that senile old fuck should go crawl in a crib and die or cave and die. I mean, it's there, but like,
that looks true.
No one like you could just tell by the chats that like that type of insult or like burn isn't like supported in a way. It's not like, oh my god, that's so funny. It's like, no, we get it. You hate him. Yeah. We hate him too.
Yeah.
But then I'm in. Maybe it's just one guy that the people follow. But like, it was just this thread of just like these like malicious attacks at this guy, and I'm like, I don't even know where this hate comes from. It's like, out of all the Republicans, he's like the least hateable person.
Yeah.
This mild-mannered war veteran with an eye patch.
It's fun. It's like you could disagree because I see the critique of Biden, and it's like even that is kind of like it's like haha, it's a joke, but it's also kind of a poke at like, no, I'm kind of concerned about his mental health. Like this guy's leaving the country. But it's like you could kind of say that about like if you were to do something like in kind with Dan, like if you just like if you think he's narrow-minded, you can make a joke about like he's narrow-minded.
It's not even about narrow-minded. They just hate him because he's a Republican.
I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, if you're just gonna be like, oh, he's narrow-minded, maybe it's because he can only see out of one eye, so he can't see the other side. You know, like something like that. Like it would be along those lines.
You're trying to be.
It's clever, but it's like you're pointing at something that you're like legitimately concerned about, and that's a little different than
calling
what
somebody
you're
an
saying.
eye patch a loser because they didn't fix it right.
Yeah.
Like,
there's like because there's some injuries that like I have a friend who hurt his back in the military, and he's just like he could go get it fixed, but then there's a possibility, something that goes bad with spinal surgery. It's like he doesn't want to risk the possibility to become paraplegic, so he's living his life in pain. This is like that's the kind of sometimes it's something like that, or sometimes it's just like, you know what? No, I want to wear this pain or wear the scar, like just there's different reasons why people do different things, and it's just I think those mean-spirited attacks is just not. There's no. It's how we talk about enemies at wartime. It's just not. It's not the way that we should be talking about fellow Americans. Like you could disagree with them all day long and poke fun and get creative and crack jokes, but like. You talk shit every night, but like not in a way that's just like, oh, you piece of shit.
Liberals just seem to be better at talking shit.
Let's go to a playground. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's I was looking up stuff on the bell curve after a conversation we were having last time about race norming and all that jazz.
Are you a fan of Charles Murray?
No, I'm not. but I can appreciate what he's done, and I kind of feel stupid for not knowing about it. I'm just like, damn. I feel like after I like look it up, like, oh, everyone's talking about it. But I thought it was interesting.
Were you watching any clips of him, or?
Yeah, like he had this one.
Because I remember I was telling you one where he was trying to talk about how like because of this you might need to focus more on something and understand how that might affect incomes and stuff.
Yeah. So it's like I understood where he's come from, and I thought and listening to him and little excerpts on the bell curve, I was like, oh, I get why a policy like race norming could come into being with this thing as the central philosophy piece. I'm like, oh wow. And then I was just like, oh man, this is kind of unsettling, and like kind of dove into it and like, like I wonder if this is like how legit this is. And then it's like there's an argument against it, but it was like it's really hard to find because all you find is like you find people
He's
who
just
are
racist.
Yeah, you find
that's
exactly,
the argument.
You find people that are angry with it, but they're just railing against him because he's racist because he's kind of perpetuating the whole what's it called they've had these those are like a pseudoscience that they had before where and they even mentioned it in Django or the candy
the skull.
The
dimples.
Yeah, the dimples. Yeah. And so it's like it was poking and that was like an actual philosophy that people had to like legitimize different things, especially slavery.
Yeah.
It's like, you have a subservient
trait
propensity for subservient servitude. So yeah. So that like runs in line. It's like, the that kind of looks like what the bell curve looks like. So thusly, the bell curve must be racist. Like the same way that people look at the NFL and be like, the NFL looks like a bunch of black people, really physically strong, and they're working for the white man. And yeah, that's the same thing as racism. It's like, no, it's different. Let's dive into the details. Like it's not the same. But it's like, but that's primarily the argument that I saw against it. I'm just like, no. But yeah, it could be a super productive conversation, and I think it's something that needs to be had because there are people because it's the basis of how like that kind of philosophy is the basis of like how policies like race norming came into being. And it's not like it's inherently racist, but it's like one of the few examples that I can think of that are actual examples of systemic racism, where it's like it's not like they think that I hate black people and you're lesser than, but it's just like I follow the science of someone who statistically says that you're inferior intellectually, so I have reason to believe. Yeah, on average, not as individuals. And that's the thing.
Because he made a point to say it's like this is an average. And because of that, that still means that there are millions of black people that are like over the top, more intelligent than the average white person.
And he even cites people in his book that disagree with him and the reasons why they disagree with him, and he's just like, and that's pretty good science. He's like, I don't have anything to say. I can't argue against it. So it's just like
it's more of a study than it is like a actual
a declaration of and that's the way people treat it. But it's like
it's just not at all. What he did a bunch of different demographics and studied the average IQ, and then it's like this is what I found.
Mm-hmm. like a strong critique that I could or what I believe is a strong critique is the assumption that all the regression analysis are doing like isolating IQ as the causal thing for all these other things like poverty and criminality and its correspondence with race. Whereas it's like you could do that with anything. Like you could say like he'll say like your IQ will predict your outcomes. Your IQ will predict how poor, how your wealth, your income level. It'll predict your propensity for criminality, and this is where it happens to line up on racial groups. But then you could also argue that if you decided to isolate poverty as the causal metric for everything else, you could say, well, because you're poor, you're so worried about trying to find food, then you're not going to have time to or to create the environment to accentuate your IQ. You're not gonna have you're gonna around in the community a lot of people that are without. Yeah, I'm sure I caught it. Trying to sneak it out. Yeah. It was like you're fine. It's real shitty of you, man.
Jim Norton shit his pants.
Oh no.
he was doing one of those custom videos
Oh.
for somebody, and he was in like a character, and he was like, it's like you ever walk up to somebody, it's just like, how you doing, my lady, and he like took off his hat and then like leaned in, and then it was just a very elongated fart, and then he just passed it off, and he was like, oh no, we're okay, we're in the clear.
Moved around a little
But they're
bit.
showing the clip, and they're also pausing it and talking over it, and then he's like, and this is when you found out everything wasn't clear. It's like, no, it certainly was not. So he like shit himself while recording a video for somebody.
Oh shit. That shit sucks. But like you could look at because you live in a community with a lot of people who are without, then it's like, all right, and they're looking for ways to accumulate wealth or to have the things that they want or to live a certain lifestyle. That's why there's a high crime rate. So there's nothing that really indicates that IQ is the cause of everything. It could be criminality that's the cause of it. It could be poverty that's the cause of everything. And then the fact that, the mobility and social economic
Just because you have a
stature.
low IQ doesn't necessarily mean, or a lower IQ than someone else, doesn't mean that you're going to be less successful than that person.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the one of the claims that the book makes. But it's like, and if you want to argue against it, you could point at examples.
There's people with like IQs of 145 who
live in a
like,
trailer park.
I mean, I'm not saying us, but like we could have IQs that like we don't realize, or like. I mean, I'm just saying, like the average IQ, like let's say the U.S. is like 100. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe me and you have 135.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like
Yeah,
we haven't done much with it. Like
yeah. I don't feel richer. Yeah, so it's like.
But it can potentially explain for more. Like if you're growing up poor and you have a low IQ, well, you're fucked.
Mm. Yeah, but the thing is that the majority of people who, like when it comes to social economic mobility, is like usually people don't leave the 20% within a 20% means of gradients of the population. They don't leave that quintile. So it's like, oh, if you're born poor, most likely you're gonna stay poor, and that might be because of IQ. It might be just because of you don't know how to utilize the resources in order to get to or access to resources.
Well, people have talked about like a byproduct of poor decision making.
Yeah, and it might be because you're in a hostile environment, and it's like, oh well, you're so desperate to like get to your next meal and to make sure you're not out in certain streets at certain times, and like you're just so worried about that kind of shit. Like you're not reading up on nothing, or you're not creating an environment that's gonna help you. That's gonna be conducive to your IQ level. So
you're not thinking about like, okay, like, can I save up enough money to rent a truck?
Yeah.
For a day and like move to North Carolina.
Yeah. As it like that.
I can move to a town in North Carolina for the same money that I'm paying now to buy a house in North Carolina.
Yeah. So it's like that kind of stuff. Those are arguments against the bell curve. But if you were to try to look it up, it's almost non-existent compared to the just railing that people have against you piece of shit. You're just racist. You're perpetuating this thing. It's like. Like no, like I just wish like if we had more of a, well, it doesn't really make sense, more of a ear than a mouth. Like we're so quick to label people or talk over people, and instead of just listen to what people say, it's like, oh no, you bring up interesting points. I wonder why that is. Like
it's because people don't care.
It's crazy.
They don't want to learn.
Yeah. I guess they're afraid of what the implications might be, and they're just like, and the only
arrogance.
defense. Yeah. They're just like, oh well, of course you must be this. It's like, all right. I wonder if there's a way to get people more towards that kind of mindset, towards all right, well, let me hear what you're saying. Okay, I disagree with you. Or like
it's about individual interactions.
Yeah.
You gotta just shit down their throat.
That's always, oh, thank you, Father.
You just gotta call people out on their bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And then not come at it from, like, a political thing.
Yeah. That, yeah.
I'd be like, like Republicans aren't racist. You can't do that. You gotta be like, you realize that's incredibly racist. And then, like, you just, like, break it down how this white liberal is, like, you don't even know black people, and you're trying to, like, dictate how...
all together.
You're trying to dictate how, like, black people should be talked to and treated by other white people. It's like...
Yeah.
You are perfectly capable of dictating how white people are to talk to you.
Yeah.
Whether it's in an interpersonal relationship or it's well, maybe not a random person because you can't affect that, but like how white people talk to you in personal relationships, you are an adult enough of what words or, type of language or how you talk about certain things. If you don't like it, you can tell them that. I don't know. I don't like this.
Yeah.
But why are you worried? I don't care.
Yeah. Hey, what's up? Big man. Oh, you finished? Okay. No, I think it's upstairs. Ask your brother. It should be on the kitchen counter. No, I'm going through my head. I'm thinking about how that could manifest in I guess through what we're doing right now. Like how can we kind of embody that?
But it's individual conversation. You have to not angrily shut people down.
Yeah. Huh? And then you can watch TV, but don't play. It's only his day.
Yeah, you can't angrily do it, but you gotta break it down.
Yeah.
And you can't come at it from your own political spectrum because then you're in a conflict. You gotta say
because then they'll identify
You gotta say you're wrong, or not even you're wrong, but
I disagree,
or this is wrong because of X, Y, and Z. It's
because I could bring up because I remember I was talking to this I had this friend who was super I consider myself religious, but I'm not. No,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, but
you have a belief, but it's not
I'm a little bit more Paul with it. I'm not Peter strictly by the book and doing all that. But I have a friend
who's incredibly religious. You named the Pope.
Oh yeah, look at me.
You named your approach to religion based on the apostles. Not really so much of the Luke as more of a James.
I mean, Let me. Fuck.
No, you're okay. I'm just fucking.
I'm a little bit more. I'm a little bit more all inclusive and looking at the big, how everybody might. I'm trying to pull people in to understand a perspective where what I believe than I am vehemently for following specific edicts. So you got to do this this day and this is what it's supposed to be. But I have a friend who's very, very much a militant believer in that respect. And we'll talk every now and then, And there was one time we had this this long conversation, and it got to a point where I was just like, hey man, you gotta you come across as a little disrespectful. He's like, oh man, my bad. I wasn't trying to. I was like, oh, I know you weren't.
That's why you said.
That's why I said it. Exactly. Because if I thought you were, then that would make sense. I would be like, hey man, I think you're being a little disrespectful. And they're like, yeah, well, fuck you, bitch. She's like, all right. In that case, all right, well, fuck me. Can't, I'll come back for that. I can't interact with you on too many other levels, just that. But it's I understand, on an individual level, I could be we could get to a point, and then, after that, we were able to continue with a fruitful conversation about, oh yeah, you look at things this one way or another. And then, he was like, oh, do you think that I'm looking at this thing in a bad way? Do you think that this is bad? And I was like, no, there's a reason why there was more than one apostle. The different way the different people are going to look at the same thing. And I was just like, this is no exception. So I'm just like, They did it then. We're doing it now, so, and there's benefits from both. You know, the same with there's a benefit to strict parents, or so there's a benefit to parents that are just more like, oh yeah, have fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the problem is that like a person is either going to somehow change everything and then start seeking out information that they're not accustomed to getting, or they're going to have an interaction or enough interactions with other people that are either trying to explain it to them or shitting on them for it.
Yeah.
That eventually, and I don't. When I mean shit, I mean like a lightly shitting, not like like
not full blown diarrhea bombs.
Not like aggressively coming after somebody, but like being like what the fuck are you talking about? And then like then proceed to like give like a couple of points as like how you're an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So once they have enough of those, then they're eventually going to have. Then they're going to change. Outside of that, they're you just don't change.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if you think people that go to the military are stupid, you're an idiot. And because that's actually a good video about IQ. There was an IQ test with like a random group of people that Abba and Preach.
Yeah.
They did, and everybody said that the guy who was military lowest IQ. When clearly, abstractly, looking at how they interacted, he's one of the smartest people there.
Yeah.
Because when they were talking to him about IQ, he had like his poise. He was kind of like a dorky looking white guy, but he was like 20, 22. But he had the poise, spoke clearly, spoke efficiently, was looking everybody in the eye like you would being like especially new into the military.
Right.
Because he was he was so young. But just of how he was articulating himself and then like understanding also that I'm probably going to be viewed as having maybe the lowest IQ just because I haven't gone to school. So he's very self-aware of himself. So I was immediately like, oh, this guy's got the top IQ. Person who had the lowest IQ, he had the third highest out of like 7 or 8 people.
Wow.
Which, it made sense listening to how they talked. It was like, oh, no, this guy's very much aware of what the situation is.
Yeah.
And he's talking, like, in a way where he wants to, like, show that, like, hey, like, respect me type thing. So I was like, oh, this guy's definitely intelligent. He's not an idiot.
Yeah.
He's not some bumpkin that, like, with, like, I barely graduated high school and I need a job.
Yeah. I remember when I was, it was around like 2012, and like and they were like, I remember there was a guy who was talking to the military, and he was just like, like one of the biggest problems that we have when it comes to recruitment is like most people who recruit aren't qualified, because like at that time like they had an oversaturation of people, and it's like so at that point the prerequisite that they had is like they were looking for people who were at a certain education level. It's like and there's so many things that go on. Like I think when people think military, they're thinking like, oh yeah, you go in the military, you get yelled at, you shoot a gun.
But there's but depending on your jobs, like you need to hit a certain score.
Yeah. So it's like
if you're just this low skilled, fairly unintelligent guy who just like kind of like has a high school diploma and like you're not really actively trying to read or learn anything. Yeah. You're getting a low score where you probably can only do infantry.
Right. And then like
and if they don't need people in infantry,
then they're not gonna hire So
but hey, you came in and you got an 85.
Right. It depends on how you do it.
Okay, can you be our satellite signals programmer?
Yeah.
Because we need one of those.
Yeah. There's like an entire industry, like I mean like a large portion of the intelligence agencies are in the military. Like it's like there's a lot of different things that going on over there where like people just assume
Well, the person that got the lowest IQ had a doctorate.
Wow.
Was young. I think she had a doctorate. I'm pretty sure she had a doctorate. She was young.
I guess.
Obviously not a medical doctor. But she was like in her late 20s or early 30s. Had a doctorate. Was talking about the IQ, but then she was also talking about like EQ, which is the emotional intelligence. blah 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 blah. Yeah, so of course, she has the lowest.
I don't think.
And she's all upset because in the beginning she was like, well, she kind of was like, I'm probably going to be near the top because like I have the doctorate, like.
It's funny. I don't think emotional intelligence is like. I mean, I know.
So they all have disparaging things to say about the guy in the military. It's
right.
like, meanwhile, you're the lowest IQ out of everybody there.
Yikes!
But she's the type of person that she would probably leave that situation still not having any respect for anybody in the military.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can't fix that.
Yeah, she's so stuck in her way.
You either stay ignorant or it's just hammered into you routinely.
Yeah. Or it's like I remember watching this one movie. It wasn't War Incorporated. I think it was a Nicolas Cage movie. Where he's an arms dealer. And like he's talking to his son and he's like he has a brother who's addicted to cocaine and
Dogs of War.
I don't remember what it's called.
I think it's Dogs of War. It's run of the mill shitty Nicolas Cage movie. It's good though. It's good.
I like that. Yeah, but
it's the bad good Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. But there was a part in it where he's talking to his son about something, and then he just like someone was asking him what he did, and he was like he was good at negotiating or trying to convince people of certain things and or selling things, I think. And then he was talking to his son, and then his son had said something, and then he was just like, oh well, and he responded, and then he's like, oh yeah, so I won. And then the son was like, wait, what are you talking about? You didn't convince me. And he was like, yeah, I didn't. He's like, but I still won because I wasn't trying to convince you. I was trying to convince the people who are looking at us, who are listening in on what we're talking about. And the moment that you said one thing, all I have to do is disprove what you're saying. All I have to do is prove that you're wrong about one thing. Now all of a sudden your legitimacy is thrown into question, and they're looking at me like, oh well, this guy's at least more intelligent than this person. So
well, that's what a debate is.
Yeah.
Because someone's going in with a mindset and an ideology. You can't fix that.
Yeah.
Lord of War, not Dogs of War.
Lord of War. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was deep. But yeah, when it comes like I don't think emotional intelligence is like I know it's a thing, but I don't like it's. Like,
it's a new.
How do you?
It's crystals. I mean,
exactly. Like, you can't. I mean, we don't have a method of really measuring it outside of.
I think it's real, but I think. Like this is generalizing. Let me be smart.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and be intelligent. A lot of people that are not necessarily like part of that research, but the people that like talk about it.
Yeah.
They have low EQ.
Yeah.
Because they don't know they're just listening to things and wanting to sound cool and up to date.
Yeah.
I think emotional intelligence does exist.
Yeah. When I think about emotional intelligence, I'm thinking about it like your capacity to empathize and when you think
just like understanding your emotions.
Yeah. And then
I probably have low EQ.
Yeah. I'm pretty feminine. I guess I have high EQ. But it's like I could understand how I feel, and then like I understand how, or I try to understand why other people feel the way that they do, and then it's like, all right, well,
maybe we probably don't even know what the definition of EQ is.
Yeah, it's just completely fucking wrong. We're the PhD lady on IQ wrong. But yeah, and that's another example with the IQ. It's
that doesn't translate into anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why?
That's just more of like a cosmetic thing. It's like, oh, you're probably just gonna deal with things better.
Yeah, like, and or just like, oh, you could deal with a wider diversity of people better, but not necessarily like.
Intelligence is a strong word to strap onto that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't. It's
emotional understanding.
Yeah. See, I think that's more appropriate. That's more appropriate. From my years of experience in emotional intelligence
and studying psychology, human behavior.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When it comes to, I think IQ is like more of a measure of
problem solving.
Yeah. Like
Isn't that essentially what it is?
Yeah. Your
It's
ability
memory. It's
reasoning. I think something like
reasoning
that.
and problem solving.
Yeah. Way to quantitate your ability to do that. And it's like that kind of stuff isn't they say it's not malleable, but it's like
Africans need to do better.
Yeah. Gosh.
No, I think pygmies have the lowest.
No, I think and one of the guys who was contradicting and who what's his face,
Charles Murray.
Yeah, he wrote about in his book and dubbed it the Flynn effect, and other people wrote about it since then. But it's like people who are exposed to this to the test or the mechanisms that the test revolves around. Generally, after a certain amount of time, the average IQ tends to rise, and they don't really know what that is, and they can't really attribute it to there's a general.
Wouldn't it just be being around the culture?
Yeah,
in the society.
So that's one of the arguments about.
I was telling you, if you read it, I'm assuming you might have picked it.
Part of it, I didn't read it. It's a fake book.
Like Black Americans have a higher average IQ than actual Africans.
No, I think it was there's like Caribbean Africans and I guess it depends on why the population.
Like it's an African American.
Yeah.
Has a higher average IQ than an African.
Yeah, I don't.
It's
know.
like 5 points or 5 or 10 points. I don't know what that translates as far as overall what that is, but it is like 5. They have a higher average IQ.
Yeah, but I think it's because like what you said. I don't know what the numbers are, but I think what you said. There's like some validity to that.
Being in the Western culture and society, you're
the more you're exposed to it, then the more.
You're also not dealing with the bullshit that like someone's dealing with, like in the Congo.
Yeah. And I wonder if they distinguish between like the Africans who come here, because the Africans who come here are like, cream of the crop, versus like just the generic Africans that
I'm sure there's more breakdowns because it's such a detailed study. It's like absurd. Like he got average. He studied pygmies.
Yeah, like that's pretty. That's pretty very specific. But it's like your capacity. Like there's like you're born with a set number of neurons. Like you're not gonna build any more neurons in your brain. But like the synapses, the connections the firing that happens in your brain. That's what's developed.
It's more about the society.
Yeah.
Because that's why Asians have like the second highest IQ.
Yeah, because it's like
East Asians.
Yeah, like the way that I think it's like I saw some early
They're very
childhood.
structured. It's like.
Yeah, exactly.
Like math, it's like, okay, here are the formulas, this is how you get it, study the formulas. So they're like, oh, this is how we do it, I can connect this, and then there it is. So that's why I would assume they would do very good on those tests.
I think it has more to do with just like that environment from like, because I remember reading this one thing on early childhood development, because I was trying to figure out why there's like this big push for like the Head Start program, but it's like from 0 to 5, they say like 95% of the brain, the synapses, are developed. So it's like, oh, that's a big portion. So if you live in like a hostile environment, be it like whether you're in a bad neighborhood, like you could be in a bad neighborhood and grow up in a good environment just because you're isolated from everything that happened, or you could be in a very rich neighborhood, or you could be abused for years, and then like you don't have those synapses that developed the way that somebody else might. And I think that has a more of a.
So are you talking about like what the general environment, or is it what you're?
No, like your interaction as a 0 to 5 year old, your interaction with the world. So you could be in a.
So if like I'm coming over and you've got your kid, and I'm coming over and we're getting like lit and like I'm punching you in the face.
Yeah.
And we're acting ghetto as fuck.
Right, and it's like
then that's gonna be a negative.
Yeah.
But if we're sitting here just going like, oh, well, how's your day going?
Right.
They're seeing like, oh, they're just like calmly sitting and talking.
Right. They're not traumatized. They're like seeing that, and they're like, and now things are firing.
So it's not
interacting.
Are you talking about like also like reading a book to them, or you just?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that because that's stimulating because you're interacting with them more because like even though they're not.
I'm just trying.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
So is it specifically based off like a social interaction or any interaction?
I think
like popping them in front of a like you get what I'm saying. Like I'm just specifically wanting to know what.
Yeah, I think just the way that they interact in general, like they say, from what I understood, it's like a lot of it's like a feedback. Like they'll try to communicate, and then you try to like talk back to them. Like they say something, and then like you're responding, or like they're watching something, and like it's like something that they
when you say like, what are you doing, and then like they're like 9 months, and they're like. They give you like a look like I'm not doing it. They actually understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
They don't know how to convey that
exactly,
but
that's at least getting their neurons to start interacting with each other, and those synapses are being developed.
I see what you mean. So if you're like some white trash person and you're just not really interacting at all, and you're just like drinking beer, watching like mindless movies, and then there's like chaos around the house, and the kid just kind of has to figure it out on its own. Yeah, it's slowly developing, and it's not
right. Okay. And then by the time it's 5, it's like, oh shit, well, like, damn. And I from what I understand, and I don't know if that and that's why I'm curious in the bell curve, because I'm just like, I wonder if he wrote anything about that, or if there's anything since then that's compared that the research that's gone into like Head Start type of programs are connected to IQ levels.
The study is very old.
Yeah. So that's
it's like the late 90s or something like that. Right?
Yeah, something 90s. Yeah,
it's over 20 years.
Yeah, so I'm super curious.
And that's way before the Head Start program.
Yeah. So like I'm thinking like maybe somebody somebody saw that or something else, and they were just like, all right, well let me dive into the details of why this is, because they were talking about different programs like. In general, that the IQ isn't malleable. Like you're not going to change it. But there's a lot of studies that change the level of IQ, but they're usually done with like kids that are below the age of 5. So it's like I don't know if that's related to the synapses or not. But I have that's my hypothesis.
I think people can change to an extent. It's just what they're willing to do.
Yeah, that's true. But
like what I was doing in my 20s, I guess depending on like, it wasn't like productive. Yeah. But then like in my late 20s and early 30s, I'm big into podcasts. Mm-hmm. So I go from just kind of mindless to kind of fucking around, whereas like now, like I might still like procrastinate and not do what I need to do. Yeah. But I'm intaking content that is like doctors interviewing each other or something. Yeah. So even though I'm not like I'm not like, oh, let me go back to college or let me do this, right. I'm still intaking something that is like feeding my brain. So my intelligence is growing in my 30s, whereas in my 20s it was stagnant and going nowhere.
Right. And I'm not sure if IQ can measures that because of the example that with the
it probably is a cap on what you're able to take in or maybe interpret or utilize. Maybe that's like,
or maybe it's like you said, maybe it's if you're open to change, if you're open to see things under different from a different perspective, and like expand how.
Well, not everybody is able to do that. For instance, your whole thing about like of how you want to communicate with people. And you always want to listen to what they have to say.
Yeah, sorry.
And this open dialogue, but you have an ability to that because that's what you kind of want from your starting point of how you interpret all of this information. Yeah, you're probably better than most. Like me, I can kind of get riled up about stuff. You probably get riled up too, but it's because you see it from like, oh, this is not good for conversation. Yeah. So 100%. So you're viewing at it from a particular standpoint, probably based off some type of emotional intelligence.
Emotional understanding.
But whereas someone else who is trying to get that information, they're just not being able to reach where you're at because of what you're able to do. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I see that.
Pushing yourself to learn more is obviously going to help. Yeah. Your IQ might create limitations. Maybe that's what like an IQ is, because I don't fucking know. But if you're just like up here like a 145, maybe it's like, oh, like I'm watching this and watching this, and I make all these connections real quick, and I got it all because I'm already my standard is so much higher than the average person that when I start interpreting and looking at it, I'm picking it up quicker than everybody else. That's why it might have would be.
Yeah, I don't know. From when I saw this, her was saying that like I don't think I pick up on things quickly, but I think I'm willing to try to understand things. And if I sit down and like read enough and understand enough, I'm just like, okay, I got an idea, and I'm willing to ameliorate the way
You
that I
might be
believe.
good at interpreting things.
Yeah, I think that's my superpower. But like in terms of like quickly, like, because I'm just like when it comes to like memorizing names or like remembering like, oh, who said what, or I'm just like, oh, I don't fucking know. But,
I'm great with that shit.
yeah.
But now I have too much, and then I forget.
So it's like I think everybody has different superpower, and I don't know which one has to do with IQ or what, or maybe they're different sides
I
of
could
the
talk
spectrum.
to you about a
but-
wrestling match that I watched on my friend's like TV that was like took place in 1986.
Oh, shit.
But I don't remember. I'm like, oh, Manny Fernandez versus Tully Blanchard on it was a sombrero on a pole match, and that's what it was. It was a sombrero on a pole.
Yeah, very specific. Pick me's, yeah.
I know that, but there are people that I work with that I'm like, fuck, what is that person's name?
Yeah, it's been 5 years. Like I can't.
But starting lineup from the Baltimore Orioles from 2002, I got you.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I think there's different things, and I think people get hung up too much on what things look like as opposed to like with the PhD, like what I was bringing up with the IQ thing and the 0 to 5 is because I saw the guy talk about like how he doesn't think that IQ is really malleable, and how it's like like early intervention is good, but later on it's like you said, it's like some kind of cap. It's like there's only so much so far that it goes, because they're trying to propose policy, I think.
I mean, you've got people that aren't like that smart, where it's like there's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, and just because like
regardless of how genuine they are trying to pick up on things, like there's just
it's hard for them to yeah. I'm with it. Yeah, some people come to mind. So and it's not like no like bash on them. It's just that like that's not their it's not their superpower. They have other superpowers, you know. It's just and it's not like
they just don't know how to click it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm superior to them. I think there's just like it's just a different lane. It's just a different.
Like they could be really good at some other type of task.
Yeah.
And they know all these different things about it, but it's like you do realize if like you just need to translate that into like other aspects.
Yeah, it's like they talk about like people who are autistic, like there's the people who are somewhere on the spectrum, and they're like not really good in a classroom setting, but they're really good at like very detailed like mechanical makeup of an engine, and they could like tell you every little nick and cranny, and they could like they can regurgitate information that they've read about a very specific thing, or they can disassemble a VCR.
This is actually funny. We talk so much about how we want to improve our society, but yet we make no attempt to help alleviate the educational, like different, like, oh, you want to do this job? Well, you can't. Well, why not? You don't have a master's degree.
Yeah.
But I know.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I know the information on like that. All right.
You didn't get a piece of paper.
Yeah. That I think
that should be the push.
That whole system needs to be revamped. You didn't spend these tens of thousands of dollars on this specific piece of paper. No, but I talked directly
obviously,
to this.
like, just for anybody that ever watches this, if you're a doctor, yes.
Unless you're
But just like general like office management type things. Like,
yeah. Like there's a level of intelligence that people have that isn't measured, and I'm not sure if IQ fully encapsulates it.
It also depends on what it is.
Yeah. Very true.
Like if you want to work for Goldman Sachs and you have a master's degree in, or even just a college degree in like Asian markets, and then you have like you're like a double major, and then your second major is like Mandarin.
Yeah.
So you speak a fluent dialect of Chinese and have studied Asian markets. Oh, we can hire you because you have actually studied.
Yeah,
this
you have the
particular thing.
prerequisites in order to. Yeah. Oh, we don't have to teach you as much stuff, and like you already have the principles of accounting and.
But if you're like, oh hey, can I be the district manager for
Best Buy? Yeah.
Best Buy? It's like you don't have a master's degree. I just need to know how to be able to interact and deal with people, make sure budgets are met. I've done this at a one store level. I just need to be able to manage. I need a degree to be able to do that for covering 5 stores. I already do it at 1.
Yeah, like what's the complex math that's going on here that I can't? The gap between here and there. It's like, no. Yeah.
Like that doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Whereas like a markets or hedge funds. Okay, yes.
Right. Very like niche things. Like you can't like. I'm not gonna be like.
Because that's what school used to be.
Yeah.
I want to do this particular career. Oh, you should go to school for that.
Yeah. I want to build rockets. I want to do maintenance on planes. That's a very specific thing that you have to study.
I want to be a welder.
Yeah.
Or an underwater welder.
Yeah, you can't.
Okay, well now you need to become a welder first, and then you need to go to school and then know how to do deep sea welding. Like
yeah.
That's a lot of stuff that you got to learn how to do.
It's not just like, oh, well, I'm smart. It's like, great, the fuck does that matter? Like you need to get this stuff done, and then same thing vice versa. It's
but
like,
most jobs don't require you to have an actual real education in a particular field.
Yeah, I think that needs to get mapped out better, or maybe it is already mapped out pretty good. No, it's just I think that's something that.
I mean, you can get a job without a college degree that helps pay your bills, but like, if you want to grow in a company and like make $200,000 a year, you need like a doctorate.
Yeah,
or not a doctorate, but like a master's.
Yeah, like you could.
Which is just absurd.
It is, man.
Because it's just it's an administrative work.
Mm-hmm.
You're a doctor, okay?
Yeah.
Please go to school.
Yeah. I don't want you guessing at which artery to nick.
You're gonna be an office manager at like a field office for a textile company. It's like what degree do you need? Can you work with people and delegate or not?
Boom. You have the superpowers. Here you go.
Or maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that there's a high emphasis on going to school and getting a degree generically.
Well, men aren't going. Taking a stand.
We're doing it.
We're dropped to, I think, 45% enrollment.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, I saw something interesting on that. No idea if it's true, but just the correlation in and of itself I thought was interesting. The majority of women do or college attendees, college students are women, and then it's like it looks like a lot of women are going to school and they're doing this, and K through 12 education is dominated by women. There's a lot more women teachers than there are male teachers. It's like maybe that's why that plays some kind of role.
Those age demographics.
Yeah.
Not at college, university.
Yeah, no, not at college. But just to say the K through 12 education probably cultivates women more than it does men in order to go to.
I don't want to say it.
It's just that,
I was going to say they're more babysitters than they are teachers.
Yeah, they are. That's pretty. That's what it is.
If you're comparing, like, someone who's teaching astrophysics at NYU to like the teacher that's teaching second grade.
Yeah.
Math. It's like
a little different.
1 + 1 is 2.
Yeah.
Like you're just creating songs and like.
Yeah.
You're more making sure that they're socially interacting and being able to follow rules.
Yeah.
You're creating a baseline.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
which is very important.
Right, fundamental, but it's not the same as
Which is why men don't want to do that because they're like,
ill.
I think men on average just don't have the patience to be able to deal with that many kids. They want to deal with people when they're settled. They can sit in their seat. You don't have to direct them into how to do that. Where you can just like, okay, this is what I'm doing today.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start writing on a board.
Yeah. It's super. Of course, it's very, very generic. Like I'm not bashing.
Which is on average, men don't have the patience to deal with like that many kids, whereas women are kind of like a little more understanding and.
Yeah. They have that superpower. Like, funny enough,
yeah, it's like a good quality.
Yeah, yeah.
The men aren't doing it because they don't have the quality to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
They're just like, I don't want to do this because I can't.
Yeah. Like, it's funny because, like, I could sit down, like, I'm passionate about education, but and I'll sit down with my oldest and do stuff with him. But my 5-year-old, I'm like, oh, I can't. I don't phonetically sounding out words. I was like, oh, I gotta lean on my wife for that. I'm just like, I can't do that.
There's something about it that we just don't have to.
Yeah, it's not.
Our patience is very thin when it comes to dealing with that stuff.
Yeah, I don't think my patience is thin. I don't think I'm good at it. I don't like it. Like versus her, like she loves that kind of stuff. She hates the stuff that the oldest one is.
Because then it's probably some type of thing where it's like I'm helping my kid that I carried go through this, and then I get to see him develop and get better. Whereas us, it's like, oh, we want to see you like get better and like hit a baseball.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because that's something we latch more onto. It's like, oh, like sports. It's like, oh, hey, look, he could dribble between the legs. Oh my God, he did it! Like,
yeah.
Whereas we don't want to sit down and be like, oh, that's great, you said that word correctly. It's been 5 hours.
Right.
God!
And like, I know it's different everywhere because it's like I could sit down for. I've sat down with hours for like trying to do long division with trying to teach my son long division he's like still bubbling through and I'm just like and I'm cool with it, like I like doing that.
I think do you like math?
Like, yeah, so I mean
I think it's we're more physically minded because I'm kind of into math, so I can relate to that. It's like if you're dealing with someone that's struggling with math, you're like, wait, like, let's get through this because I know how to do this. I like doing this. I want to see you do this because somebody helped me do this.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, saying a word, it's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And because I don't give a shit, I don't have the patience to deal with it.
Right, yeah, 100%, yeah.
Where we have patience when it's something that we are into.
Care about, yeah. So,
like, I use the sports analogy because how many dads are getting impatient because the kid didn't hit the ball like the first time. Like, he's fine with it. He's like, oh no, we're learning motor abilities. Let's keep doing this. Like, oh, he threw it good.
Process. Yeah. Yeah. So people, So I guess in general, people just they're willing to be patient with things that they care about.
Or she cares about her kids.
Yeah.
So she's got the patience for anything.
Yeah. Oh, is that a dirty diaper? Cool. All right, come over here. I'm just like, she shat on her leg. Like, help me, please.
She took a dump again. Yeah. I'm sorry, you gotta do it.
Yeah. Oh, this is a daily thing. Oh man. But how can we translate that to because I'm trying to think about how to do this. This is more like a brainstorming session, I think. Because I'm like really like kind of struggling with this myself. Like, how do we do this on a shift that kind of energy towards like people who are stuck in a certain kind of mindset? Like, how is it possible for us to? Because this is all stuff people are passionate about. People passionate about race and education.
Well, it depends on their age.
Yeah.
Like a kid, you can easily break through that shit.
Yeah. That's true.
Just because they're still developing, and like if you just like explain it a couple of times, they'll be like, "Hey, remember what I told you about this?" They're just like, "Yeah," and then like it's fine, like because it's in the back of their head. Whereas like an adult, like let's say like we've had this conversation about like Trump and like the racist thing. Like there's like a difference between being racially insensitive or racially ignorant, and then
being racist. Yeah.
Being racist, right? Where we agree that like he's. He's not good. Yeah. But we don't think he's the second coming of the Ku Klux Klan.
Right.
In order to talk to another adult about that, you'd have to have like 1,000 conversations about. Yeah. I'd keep drilling it. Like I remember somebody at our at work was like talking about how this is back in the day. Like he's so racist. He called it the Chinese virus, and then I started laughing. I'm like. Yeah, I was like, it'd be more racist if you called it the Korean virus because it's actually from China. Yeah. And then I said it's more ignorant for him to just be calling it the Chinese virus.
Yeah.
And then they were kind of like, I don't know. And then like I just tried to talk through a little bit, and I knew like I'm gonna have to have like a lot of conversations. Like,
yeah.
He didn't call it the Ching Chong virus.
Yeah.
It originated from China.
Yeah.
So he's doing the Twitter like soundbite hashtag calling it the Chinese virus. Like
you could say it's insensitive, or like he's attributing an entire country towards something that happened.
It's ignorant and potentially stupid.
Right,
but it's,
right. But
it's not potentially. It's stupid, but it's
not necessarily in and of itself racist. Yeah.
That doesn't translate to him thinking less of people because they're Chinese.
Yeah. But it might be something that like, someone who already thinks that less of Chinese people, and they hear that, they're like,
that's just reinforcing a stigmatism. Yeah.
And like, if you want to blame him for that, it's like, okay, that's a conversation to be had. But I think when you just call that racist, then you're just cheapening the whole conversation.
Or the people that when Trump didn't get reelected think that, now everything's going to be better.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have a lot of conversations about, like, no, there's, like, real issues and then the ramifications of redlining, like...
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot more into this. Like, it doesn't just stop and end with, like, this guy not being the president.
Yeah. Yeah, that being said, I think conversations are more fruitful than debates. Like, I understand the structure of debates, and yeah, it's cool to see little...
That's why I said lightly shitting.
But yeah. Yeah, the light shit's nice. That dark, like, hold the seat, like, squeeze out.
You gotta give, like, a little jab to the body. You're not trying to, like, hit him in the head.
It's sparring a little bit, just so you get a feel for the ring.
Oh, like the light touch?
Yeah. You don't want to jump in there like, come on, bitch.
It's like the beginning of Foxcatcher where they're just kind of like... You saw that movie?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Playfully, like, gripping at their necks and shoulders.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
But that, like, it takes repetitive going after that, because you're now having to, like, break down someone's bias that's there.
Yeah, man.
Because people don't want to admit they're wrong.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Especially fundamentally wrong.
Yeah.
Not like, oh no, John Starks didn't play on the Nets. He played on the Knicks.
Yeah.
Oh, I must have got it mixed up somehow. That's weird. It's like, it's not bad.
Yeah.
You're like, no, like, basketball isn't the only sport that's played in the United States. No, it's not. It's like, oh boy.
You think I'm a fucking idiot? How long have you lived here? You piece of shit.
It's America's sport. It's like, that's baseball. They call it America's pastime. Basketball was created by the Canadian. It's
oh, shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's in Massachusetts, though, I believe.
Okay.
I want to say it was
it's
in
American.
But a Canadian was the guy who came up with it.
That's cool, though.
But, like, baseball's America's pastime. Yeah. Or it's football. But, like...
Yeah.
Because it came later. But that's like a debate to be had. But like somebody who's like, it's football, only football, like you're gonna have a lot of conversations with them to break it down. Be like, no, like hockey's pretty popular. Like
I love watching hockey. I'm not really like I don't watch it like that. I don't really watch any sports like that. But like
somebody who hates hockey, imagine how many conversations you're gonna have to convince them like, no, hockey can be fun too. Yeah,
like just come to one game. You'll never have more fun.
That.
Bring a sweater, but come to one game. Oh man, yeah, I'm cycling through in my head like I've talked to people and I think I'm guilty of this too sometimes. It's like being wrong and just defending it to the death. Because I don't want to admit that I'm wrong.
Fundamentally wrong?
Fundamentally wrong. Okay. It's like, oh shit, like, nah man, no, it's this, nah, you don't understand. Meanwhile, I'm just in my head like, fuck.
Well, we're all guilty of that.
Yeah.
But it just depends. See, like, you are probably aware of it, but you're still trying to fight it. Where there's some people who, they're not aware of it. Yeah. They're like, oh no, they're crazy.
Yeah, and then they'll go ahead, and then they'll
that's more what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because some people are like, oh, they're wrong, but I don't want to be wrong. I want to be right. And then, like, they do that. But there are people who, like, you could talk to them about, I don't know, what's, like, a crazy social issue?
I don't know. I'm drawing blanks now.
Hormone blockers for like 3-year-olds. Right.
Yeah.
Universally, the average person is going to be like,
Goo Gaga. It's like that.
they're going to like not understand it. The average person isn't going to understand it because they don't even know that that's like a discussion that's taking place.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have the people that pay attention to these issues that are on the more conservative side, or like just, hey, we need to have like a middle ground type people, like your moderate Democrats and like Bill Maher, stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're all going to be like, let's pump the brakes a little bit on this.
Right.
Like, trans people exist and it's normal, but like,
Right, but you know,
shouldn't we let them organically develop before we start doing real fundamental chemical change?
Yeah.
And then there's people who are like, oh, you're transphobic. Like, why would you ever go against that? That, like, you would, like, you have to, like, sit them in a room and talk to them for, like, eight days. To be like, you do realize, like, your kids might never be able to achieve any type of sexual, like, maturity, and they won't be able to get an orgasm. Are you willing to deny them the right to have an orgasm?
But they wanted to paint the room pink, so, I mean, of course.
Because you could tell them, like, you can wait. Like,
yeah, like, it's okay. Like, it's not essential right now. Yeah, like,
you can foster and help what they're going through.
Right.
And explain to them as best you can, but like to fundamentally chemically change them at a level that could fuck them up permanently for the rest of their life. Yeah. And at 3, you might have some reservations on that.
I'm trying to imagine like somebody who like someone was telling me about a show about somebody who does.
It's just like the gay conversion therapy.
Yeah.
It's just like that.
Oh,
it's not like, hey, let's have a conversation about this. It's like, you need to go to a camp where they're going to tell you you're going to go to hell. Like, and I'm sure there are some conversion therapies where it's a little bit more of a fostering. It's like, okay, well, why do you feel these sexual? Yeah. But I'm assuming most of them are not.
Yeah, the shock therapy and shit like that.
Well, especially back in the day, shock therapy. Yeah. But like, that's the exact same, just extreme on the conservative spectrum.
Yeah. Oh man.
There's something wrong with my kid, and I need to alter their brain through brainwashing them into like being straight.
Yeah, that's wild.
And then they're just going to attempt suicide.
There's a lot of people walking around like that they're just like, they're so gung-ho, they're just stuck in like, oh, I don't want to sin against God, so you know, love my wife.
But they independently come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
But to like force it upon them.
Yeah, that's wild. No, I think it's I Am Jasmine or something like that. You don't. Oh, you know.
I'm aware.
I was like, because I was watching this thing, because it was like, oh, did you watch the new thing? And I was like, no, I don't have cable. And they're like, oh yeah. Oh, the thing is crazy now. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, maybe it's like some like an adult. And I think she's adult now, but like I was
might be 18 or 19. I think she's in sophomore in college or something like that.
Okay. Well, I saw some clips when she's like 6 years old talking about like wanting to get hormones pumped into her. I was like, how do you know what a hormone is at 6 years old? Like, I mean, you could feel like you're a boy. That's one thing, but. Or I'm sorry. Feel like you're a girl.
The kids on what the information they're able to get into these days.
Yeah.
Oh, there was a viral video. I don't know what it was from, TikTok, Twitch, something like that. So these 2 kids who I think they had.
No, not yet, man.
Almost.
Yeah. Viral video.
Like the kids, I think, had like weird dyed hair color, like they were gay or something like that.
Okay.
But they were young, like 4 or something like that.
Oh wow.
And then their mom's there, and they're talking, and I guess somebody asked them a question or something like that, and they're like, "Yeah, we're like supportive of the LBGT." Whatever came next, I don't know. Like they gave like the real like updated the full, statement where it's plus squared to the 3rd, like type shit where it.
Wow, 4 years old, man. Like that's.
And then the like, I think the question was geared around whether or not, like, the mom would support them or something like that. And then he responded with, like, if I wasn't part of that community, my mom would probably try and talk me into it.
Wow.
Or something like that. And
I'm
she was
sure
like,
those people
and then she was like, wait, what? And then so then everybody was like, oh, they just outed her. She's like forcing her kids like into this lifestyle.
Yeah. That's fucked up, man. I mean, granted, there's some fucked up shit that people do to kids, but damn it.
I don't want to say that. I feel like almost molestation is not as bad.
Oh, fuck. Where's Epstein?
Than to like try and fundamentally change the way your kids interpret
Yeah, because
their
you're
sexuality.
fucking with their heads, and then you convince them to fuck with their bodies in a way that's.
It's like if you molest them, it's like all you're doing is giving them a heightened sex drive.
My God.
Some emotional trauma that will linger and a heightened sex drive.
That's it. Nothing major. Yeah, I don't want to compare one thing against the other.
I just feel like it's much more simplistic.
I see this in a stand-up routine down the line.
So what would you rather be? I feel like I'd want to be molested.
Come out. It's like, hey guys, how you doing? I don't think molestation's that bad, right?
No, if you do it as a bit, you gotta go like. So I was thinking the other day, like there's like parents that are like pushing their kids to maybe be trans or gay or something like that. It's like, what's worse? I feel like if I had a choice between like my mom wanting me to be gay or like my uncle molesting me, I think I'm going with uncle.
What? Oh my God.
Because what if it's just like a one-time thing, like I help him jack off? Like it's weird.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Oh shit.
It's weird, it's awkward at family reunions.
Fucking can't. Oh, that's funny. Oh shit. Oh, what's going on with the you were starting to tell me about it. I'm gonna look it up after this, but you said that Fresh and Fit were on Flagrant 2?
Yeah, Fresh and Fit were on Flagrant 2. Dropped like now it's been a couple hours, but like I think it dropped around 10.
Okay.
10 a.m. That's good so far. I'm like an hour in.
Yeah. Okay.
They're kind of going after him.
Yeah. How are they taking it? Are they like Fresh Fit like taking the stride, or they like is it like getting a little contentious?
They're kind of going after them, then kind of not. Then like trying to like between the actual Flagrant crew, they're like breaking down certain things. So it's not all just them trying to shit on the Fresh and Fit, but they are taking their shots.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I need to finish the whole thing, but like, I think there's some. We already know the fallacies with Fresh and Fit.
Yeah.
And then I think the Flagrant group don't entirely know everything that they've been doing or like how they do it and everything like that.
Okay, so they're kind of being taken for a ride when they're like, oh no, this is what we do.
No, like when someone's critiquing something, but they're not. You could tell that the critique is right in a sense, but they don't have the full understanding. So the critique is like, like a half or like like it's like 3/4 done. Yeah, it's like one of those things.
Okay.
Where like the critique is there, like what they're saying is kind of right, but it's not. You can tell they don't have a full understanding of everything, which is not surprising because I mean.
Yeah.
Like Akash is a traveling stand-up comedian who's doing podcasts and Patreon episodes. Like he doesn't have. I don't expect him to have the time to just sit down and watch hours of this fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
and then
he just got married. He loves it. He's just not like. It's,
he has better things to do with his time because he's also done to be watching and doing other things. Like, For him to take like hours out of his day at a time to like research.
Yeah, man. I haven't watched too much I haven't watched any Fresh and Fit since that whole Lava and Preach thing. I was really like dumbfounded by oh shit, like they were able to.
Have you seen the
articulate-
recent videos that they've been doing with them, where they like just keep going back?
I saw the last thing I saw Fresh and Fit, where Alvin Preach were talking about how Fresh and Fit were going on this strike thing, like they were trying to get people strikes.
But you
against
saw
the
where
channel.
Fresh had like the chick that he got from Sugar Daddies or some shit.
I heard about that. Where he's like, no, but she's different. And it's like what? It's like something like she didn't want to go on a date with him at first, and then he's
Until
like,
he
I got a yacht. Yeah.
Okay, so you're fairly up to date on like the continued like them trying to expose them.
Yeah.
Well, no, they had I don't know what's this chick's name? Asian Doll, I think is her name.
Okay, I don't know about that.
She's some ghetto ass black chick who's a rapper or something like that.
All right.
That's all you need to know. You can imagine her, male ghetto energy, and they clashed because she came late, and then they were telling somebody that they need to stop talking, and then she was like, "Oh, you guys are just mean," and then like she starts talking, doing the shaming of them like they're these bitch men because they don't want to listen to you know what I mean? This whole just
going back and forth.
The same terrible communication.
Yeah.
Because they come kind of arrogant with it, and then it's just bad.
Yeah, it's just not open. Like,
So then, Black Twitter and the Shade Room and all these other shit, they went and they found receipts where they were making fun of, like, they asked, like, if they date black women, and they just made some jokes. Like, oh, we're not night riders, and we don't date, like, Shaniquas and LaQuishas and stuff like that.
Jesus Christ.
Now, they're just very poor at articulating themselves. Because if you make those jokes, you got to take this time.
You have a platform that you could talk about.
Well, you got to start it with the real reason. Or end it with the real reason, and then you can make your jokes about like, oh, I don't date Latoyas, like it's like, but you gotta like stay. It's like, oh, okay, no, yeah, I do date black women. I have dated black women, but like, really, being in Miami, like I really just tend to not do it because they tend to be a little bit, more ghetto and this, that, and the other,
right?
And that's not something that I want to be a part of,
right? Because
they don't say it or they don't articulate it in that way where it's like cosmetically just black people can hear it and be like, oh yeah, I kind of don't want to date those type of chicks either, but there's more like and then
there's other black women out there, like it's not just all
but because they did that way, and then with them I guess like what's his Fit said something like, yo, if you don't like it you can leave, to Asian Doll, because she was giving him shit, and he's like, you're in his mind, you already came. You know how like the clips are. You don't know that she came late, but she came late type shit.
Yeah.
So he's basically like, this bitch is already coming at me with this fucking energy. I don't like ghetto black girls to begin with. You can fucking hit the road. He goes to take a piss. I guess at some point they're talking. She leaves. He comes back. She already gone. So he's like, whatever. Then they find that video from like a year ago of them talking about like so then that becomes a new thing, and now that they Flagrant brought them on to kind of like
clean up there. Okay.
Give their example, and then also for them to put their feet to the fire a little bit.
Okay.
On kind of disrespecting black women in a way because they're not fully articulating themselves in a way that covers their ass for being like, we do date black women. We have no problem with dating black women. Just with the way we're moving and what we're doing, we're more likely to be dating women outside of our race.
Yeah.
Just because of the access to that.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just poor.
Yeah.
Which they're notorious for.
Yeah.
Poor communication.
I'm thinking about like how people would because I'm thinking about like how like people who call everything like, oh, this is structural racism, this is racist, that's racist. So they'll hear somebody who is able to articulate it in the right way, and they'll draw oh, well, you're just good at speaking, but for real, you're just racist against black women. It's like, no, that's not what it is. But I mean, I'm sure that in some cases that there are people who are like that, but
I mean, you can even say like, I know that there are like good black women out there. With how I'm living my life right now, I'm usually bumping into black women that are more aggressive.
yeah,
They're more aggressive, or they're more angry, or they're more ghetto.
Yeah.
There's some negative trait that they have that these other groups of women don't.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm doing in like the clubs I'm going to, I'm not really getting into interactions with the good black women that are out there.
Yeah.
You could say that, and then it'd be like, well, then you got to do better. Like,
Yeah.
well, the thing is, people aren't going to get mad about it.
Yeah.
It's just going to be like, oh, well, that happened, and then
Unless
they're
they're
just,
dedicated, they'll be like, oh, yeah, so you think there's good black women and bad black women? It's like, no.
I'm saying it's not going viral.
People are people. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what you're saying.
yeah, there's not going to be a viral reaction where like
apart.
it's
Yeah.
going everywhere, and then next
Yeah.
thing you know, you got like hundreds of thousands of people or millions on different platforms who are all like, yo, fuck these dudes, this and
Yeah.
that. Where if you kind of give some explanation that I just gave, like,
Yeah.
only a few people are going to latch onto it and get upset, whereas
Yeah.
most people are going to be like, oh, well, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I might not even like what they just said, but it ain't that bad, and then I'm going to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to register. Whereas the
Yeah.
clip that was out there and what happened with the Asia doll, I think that's Asian doll or Asian
Okay.
doll,
Yeah. No pun, it was flagrant.
I almost said China doll. I'm like, that's somebody different.
I know there's someone named China.
I know Black China.
Black
See, I'm
China.
all
Oh,
confused.
yeah.
That's a chick that got knocked up by Rob Kardashian.
Oh, damn.
You don't remember that?
No, I remember seeing a Nicki Minaj
She faked
video.
the relationship with him to get his kid and then left.
damn.
And then she had beef with like Kim or something like that. So it was like.
Oh, okay.
But then when they were together, they had like an estranged relationship because that was Rob's girl, and then like so she like tried to ruin their family, and then got a baby out of it, and then like was immediately with some other dude after like she left. So the kid's like not even like a year old, and she's already hopped onto some other dude. It's like I forget. I think he was like some black rapper. I forget who it was.
Damn.
Was it Tyga? It might have been Tyga.
Okay.
Who then was ex with Kylie. It's just so nasty.
Just passing it around.
Everyone.
Wanted to throw the conversation there. Yeah, you know,
It's gross.
he's pretty decent over there.
He's got an OnlyFans.
Oh, really?
Tiger, or
Oh,
is it
God.
Tigger? It sounds so close to the
Yeah.
N-word that I don't like saying it. Especially on
It's a
camera.
trap. It's a trap.
It's a trap!
Oh, shit. Oh, that's funny. Oh, speaking about China, I was looking up.
Jesus. Oh, did you see this? I think it's the Suns owner? The Phoenix Suns owner?
No, wait.
Or some executive with the Suns. I don't want to blast the owner. It might have been the owner, might not have been.
Who
cares about
who
the
cares about the Uyghurs? Yeah. Holy shit.
Ennis Cantor's.
Holy.
Or, sorry, not Ennis Cantor, Ennis Freedom. It's like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah. Holy shit. That was crazy. But
How do you get into that position and not have the wherewithal to be like, political correct statements all the time?
I think it's because after the whole Donald Trump fad, and it's like I'm rich and I could I'm an asshole but I say it like it is type of thing, and it's like I think
they're enslaving people because they're not viewed as being like ethnically Chinese.
Yeah, and I think it's that
You can't say regardless of whether or not we're going to do anything about it, or you even give a shit. You can't say that.
Well, I think there's an ulterior motive behind that. I don't think it's like, oh, well, he genuinely feels this way. He wants, he's like, oh, I'm just speaking up for people, and I'm handsome. This is my character. I think it's that he has some business interests because he's a big. I mean, NBA. I'm sure they have.
I think he's trying to be cynical about it, where he's like, we really don't care. Like, who really cares about them anyway?
Like, I don't know, because I can't imagine that's too. I could see him, like, he's saying that in order to placate towards the Chinese government, and because he has business ties over there. Maybe I could see that. I
think it's a combination.
Yeah. And then out of all the things that he's concerned about, like,
because they have like a $500 million yearly deal with China.
Yeah,
or at least one Chinese company.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure he's in. And then he, I think he invests in the Asian market. He's talking about how he invests in the Asian market because I think this was him, or this might be someone else. He invests in the Asian market because they have a political stability, or they have like domestic stability. Because of the government authoritarian regime. I was like, oh, that's a really nice way of saying that, you piece of shit.
It was the fact that he said who cares about the Uyghurs. It sounds like that's probably who said it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's wild. But it's like
they are really trying to alienate fans.
Yeah. Go above and beyond.
Because the numbers have been dropping since the pandemic started.
I don't even think he can. I think he's like, no matter what I say, like, I can say, as long as I don't say anything racist against people,
black people,
yeah, then I'll be good. I won't lose my.
That's kind of racist against Muslims.
Yeah, the Uyghur thing, yeah, big time. Well, it's wild because I see this web being spun, like it's like China's like playing this long game, and they're like utilizing the American corporate greed to like kind of tie them into their rhetoric and their political.
I think they're just doing what they can to do, and then American businesses are just trying to play some type of moral high ground on things.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the NBA's doing. Hey, you guys can wear, shirts that say Black Lives Matter on it.
Yeah, but it's like...
Wear whatever cause you want on your jerseys just to support black people.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have business deals and use slave labor to make our shoes.
Right.
And
the shirts that you're wearing says Black Lives Matter. Yeah. Slave labor. Yeah, I think they're like poking they're morally grandstanding on like, oh, I give a shit, but for real they don't, and he was just willing to be honest about it, and it's like, if you're willing to say that in the open, like,
I need to actually listen to that interview so like I get a full grasp of what that soundbite's from.
Yeah. Oh, that's wild. Well, I just I see this. It's almost like, I know this is like a overplayed thing or saying, but it's like, oh, like I see like the Chinese government playing chess, and it's like and everybody else playing checkers, even these big players with all this money, they think like they're top dogs. It's like, but they're being manipulated into a grander scheme that they don't even understand. Because
who's American?
Yeah,
I think we know exactly what we're doing.
I think. Well, I think that I think they just don't care. I think we just don't like some like big business that they just don't care. Hey, well, I'm cashing out way more than I would have otherwise. So,
well, I think of what you're trying to say is China's thinking down the road, whereas businesses are thinking like
immediate sense,
or like quarterly.
Yeah.
Hey, like what are our quarter numbers?
Yeah.
Like the investors. Oh, we have this election coming up, or oh, these polls are going to be coming out. Like,
and it's just like if I was China, that would make sense. Like, I'm trying to manipulate for long-term gains. I'm willing to invest right now.
I mean, that's what Russia did.
Yeah. I mean, that's what, like, all the spies, or like it was I think it was like a prerequisite to become to be a spy, or I should say clandestine officer. They're equivalent to a CIA officer. They would have to live in a country for like 10 years before they can apply to be a spy in that area. So I think that's why like the Russian spies, and like even now there's movies and shit talking about the Russian spies and stuff like that, how they're so deeply embedded into all these other countries. Like,
like supposedly they embedded themselves into our education universities.
Yeah. I mean, they found that one guy from China, the guy at the Harvard professor.
That's so disconcerting.
Yeah, that's why I'm just like, I mean...
Well, no, I'm not scared of that. I'm scared that, like, people don't know that.
Yeah. Ugh. I'm scared that people who know it just don't care. It's like, oh, wow, that's crazy.
Oh, like, there's this crazy stat. I think it's, like... I don't think it's 19, but it might be 19. It's like 19 out of the top 20 Christian Facebook groups are Russian-controlled farms.
Yeah.
Or like, you know what I mean by farms. Like
it was like, I remember
bot farms or something like that.
I think it was like, 16 out of the top 20.
Or 60. It's high. It's like 70%.
Yeah, and then it was the same. And it was the same thing with Black Lives Matter. A lot of them were bot farms, and it was the same thing. There's another one. I think it was a Native American. Something like just someone sees a discontent. There was like a high percentage that were bot farms, and I think there was like somewhere like in Moldova or something like that. Like it was like one of those eastern, like right north of Greece, right next to Montenegro, that area, Croatia, the Balkans, that area. So it's like, and Russia's known to operate a lot of intelligence.
How do you find out if it's a bot?
Well, I think it's just because they're tracing the IP addresses and they see the links.
No, it's like a regular person.
Oh yeah, you don't like, cause like they're saying.
Because I go into I look at the Twitter shit and I'm like. I'm like, these people can't be real.
There's no way. Yeah, it might be, man. That's some scary shit. Yeah. Just to add a little bit more alarmist thing on top of our pending civil war. So
that's so scary.
Marvel needs to come out with redo that movie. Civil War.
Do better.
Oh man. Yeah, go ahead and get out of here. All right, y'all. That's it for 2022.
Signing out.
It's like
one episode.
All right, y'all. See y'all later. Peace.